Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In today's hadith of the day, I'm going to share with you a saying from our beloved Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him and his family, which is recorded in Biharul Anwar. The Holy Prophet advised, when making a decision to do something, think about its outcome. If it's good for you and for your advancement and development, then follow it. But if it is misleading, leave it out. Life is full of many ups and downs and many important decisions which must be made, many of which can be scary at times and make us uncertain. Here, the Prophet Muhammad, may peace and blessings be upon him, is giving us a very simple advice: to reflect on each decision we make and not to make decisions with haste. Much like many motivational speakers tell us today, the Prophet told us 1400 years ago that we should do things that help us advance in life and develop our character. And he tells us, if the decision will lead to detriment, not to do it. It may sound like simple advice, but in these hectic lives that we live in, it is a reminder to pause and reflect on decisions we make, however big and however small. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and we question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome to another live show of Ahkam SOS. I'm your host Abu Talib Muhammad, and I'm joined by Sheikh Ali Ma'a. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikhna.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullah.
How are you, Sheikh? You well, inshallah?
Alhamdulillah. Fine.
How are you in the sun?
Great, alhamdulillah.
You enjoying the weather, inshallah?
Indeed, yes.
As we have said previously, that the show is live, the show is yours. We're taking in questions directly. You can send in your questions via WhatsApp, via Facebook, or via YouTube. And you can also give us a call on +440203 5150199, getting the opportunity to speak to me or to the Sheikh and getting a direct live answer for your question. Inshallah, we have started with many questions coming in, and for those that would like to send their questions in, as we have said, you can send the questions via WhatsApp, via Facebook, and the technical team will forward them over to us to get them answered for you. Sheikh, now we shall start inshallah with some questions that have come in already, and it says, the first question says, is it mandatory to show dedication to the faithful and disownment, tabarruk to those who oppose them through speech and deed?
Inshallah. A'udhu billahi as-sami' al-alim min ash-shaytan ar-rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin wa sallallahu ala Muhammadin wa alihi at-tahirin wa la'natullahi ala a'da'ihim ajma'in. Tawalla and tabarra, or tawalli and tabarri, they are part of the usul and furu' ad-din.
No.
When it comes to be practical, becomes furu' ad-din, the original and the essence of tawalla and tabarra is part of the usul ad-din. Wilayat Ahl al-Bayt is part of the aqidah.
No.
The imamah of Ahl al-Bayt is part of the usul ad-din, and the tabarra as well, to reject and denounce their enemies. We have in Kitab al-Bihar a narration by the authority of Imam Rida alayhi salam. He states with this regard that كمال الدين ولايتنا والبراءة من عدونا. The perfection of one's deen, one's religion and faith is with the walay of Ahl Bayt. In other words, to follow them, to believe in their imam, to believe in their leadership. Not just to love them and that's it. No, to believe that they are Hujjatullah ala al-ard, they are Allah's proof on earth. They are the continuation of the Prophet's message, and they would explain, they would elaborate on the meanings of the hadith and the Quran and so forth. So they would implement, in other words, the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Because Allah is wise, He wouldn't leave people without a hujjah, without proof, as He did so when he made and created the first human being, and that was Adam alayhi salam, who was a prophet.
No.
And continued the prophethood, continued, by sending 124,000 prophets with vicegerents and awsiya. So it has to continue till the day of judgment. You can't just leave the issue with the people. People are not able to explain and interpret the deep meanings of the Quran.
Sahih.
You have to have somebody who knows, who have, ilm al-kitab, as the Quran mentions, to be able to explain these issues and the deen to the people. So, as the Imam alayhi salam stated that Kamaluddin walayatuna, that the complete religion and faith is with our walaya, the Imam of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. وَالْبَرَاءَةُ مِنْ عَدُوِّنَا, and to reject and denounce their enemies. So walaya and bara'ah is a must within the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. We also have in Kitab Zadul Ma'ad by Allam Majlisi, he mentions this part of the dua in the month of Ramadan. This dua has been recited. He states that Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ba'athni ala al-iman bika wa tasdiq bi rasulik. That, oh Allah, send me or resurrect me on the day of judgment by the belief and the iman in you, Tawheedullah Azza wa Jal, and to submit to your messenger, Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. As we say in the Shahada, Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. Then the dua states, وَالْوَلَايَةِ لَعَلِيِّ ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and to also submit to the walaya and the leadership and the imamah of Ali alayhi salam, which is from Allah Azza wa Jal through Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi on the day of Ghadir, when he announced that مَنْ كُنْتُ مَوْلَاهُ فَعَلِي مَوْلَاهُ, follow Ali as imam, as leader after me, which sadly majority of the companions neglected and ignored and left Ali alone alayhi salam for 25 years as a result. Then the dua states, وَالْإِتِمَامِ بِالْأَئِمَّةِ مِنْ آلِ مُحَمَّدٍ, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad, and to follow and to believe in the imams of Ala Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. In other words, to believe in Imam Hassan as Imam of Ahlul Bayt, then Imam Hussein, and onwards till Imam al-Hujjah Ajjallahu Farajahu al-Sharif. To have this belief, the complete belief, and the Imams of Ahlul Bayt. وَالْبَرَاءَةِ مِنْ أَعْدَائِهِمْ, and to also believe in the tabarra and to reject and denounce their enemies. فَإِنِّي قَدْ رَضِيتُ بِذَلِكَ يَا رَبِّ, oh Allah, I have now accepted and I'm pleased with this aqidah, oh Lord, oh Allah. So we must have this aqidah in ourselves, and also to implement it in our lives as well. As we pray, every day in the mosque, sometimes in the park, we have to have this aqidah as well, not just to practice Islam with the branches of Islam.
No, because don't do it just because it's a duty to do. No, also you have to believe it. Yes,
to believe and to also show it.
Yes,
that's very important. So the walaya and bara should be shown both.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. Inshallah, that's answered the question. We come to more questions, and I think this question is asked by multiple parents as well as young people which have the same issue. It says, is it permissible for parents to search mobile phones and the belongings of their children for the purpose of protection? And it's a question based on Ayatollah Rouhani's opinion.
Yeah, the Sayyid mentions that it's permissible for the one to search for the purpose of educating them, also to refrain from the acts of evil if there is something bad within these systems, let's say indecent movies, indecent pictures, photos, and so forth, to try to educate your children. You have to make sure you don't have to spy on them, but at least to have, keep an eye on them. In other words, just keep an eye on them, make sure that they don't use tools or means which would, gradually would deviate them and corrupt them as a result.
Inshallah, thank you very much for that, Sheikh. Now we're going to come to another WhatsApp question and then move on to more YouTube questions. We've got a question that says, Assalamu alaikum, please, I have an issue. When, for example, I say Bismillah once in my head, something tells me that I pronounced it with a B as a P. Or that I am not wearing correct dress to say Bismillah. For example, same with Astaghfirullah. Also sometimes if I don't say Bismillah intentionally for me, it's a sin. Thank you very much. So every time they are saying Bismillah, something in their mind says they said Bismillah with a different starting letter. And the same with Astaghfirullah. And at times they have a feeling they're not wearing the correct dress to say Astaghfirullah or Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Is this a sin? What is your opinion, and what does the hadith and the riwayat say about this?
Well, the ulama say that if the issue is repeated 3 times in one salah or in 3 salah consecutively, then you have to ignore. This is part of the waswasa. One should avoid paying attention to these waswasa that occurs.
Yes.
As I've mentioned this before, the hadith says the Imam ﷺ asks that man who says that I know a man who does waswasa a lot, obsessiveness. So the Imam says, ask him, where does this comes from? And he would tell you that it comes from shaitan.
Sahih.
So you have to obey Allah, not shaitan.
No.
So you have to stop repeating these, the words or the verses which has reached the position of waswasa.
No.
Because shaitan would be also, interrupting one's, even in ibadah, to try to destroy and demolish this ibadah.
You, destroy you,
exactly.
And trying to get
so try to
bored
avoid
of what
it
you're doing.
And ignore it.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. Inshallah, that's answered the question. We're going to come to YouTube questions. And we have YouTube question that says, Salaam alaikum, Sheikhna. We know that a virgin woman can't marry without the permission of her parents, and that a woman who lost her virginity can. But what about a woman who lost her virginity through zina?
In overall, she needs to repent to Allah Azza wa Jal. Repentance is important. Of course, that what she did was haram and forbidden. We have to see what the ulama say, to be honest, with this regard. That if this is basically would allow her to get married without going back to the father's permission, because that was done in an immoral way, let's say a non-shari'i way. So we have to see this, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. Inshallah, we'll get a precise answer for this question for the next show. We'll do our research and inshallah we'll answer that question. We're going to come back to more YouTube questions, and it says, Salamun alaikum, Sheikh, or it says, Sheikh, the Salafis say that a Muslim who had a haram relationship will have to wait a month period after marriage before coming close to his wife. Is this also the case in the school of Ahlul Bayt alayhim as-salam?
You see, it depends. Is it from the husband or the wife? And overall, our fiqh is different than their fiqh. This is very important, we have to consider. But it could be the issue is raised because, let's say, the wife had a haram relation with a man.
Another person.
And of course, she might be pregnant from this individual.
Yes.
So it could be, I have to check with this regard.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikh. And it's, again, for this question, we'll do our research and get an answer for this. We've got a question, and it's from Japan. It says, Salaam alaikum from Japan. Now, I think this individual sends lots of questions in, and it's always good to know that we've got viewers from all around the world, from Bahrain, from Japan, from Canada and Australia. It says, Salam from Japan, is it haram to sell pork meat to non-Muslims? It's a YouTube question.
You can't sell pork or alcohol even to the non-Muslims. So it's not permissible.
So it's not permissible to sell it to Muslims or non-Muslims, and
to all.
To all. It's something to be out of.
Yes.
And what if, like, you're employed, let's say you're employed in a supermarket and one of your duties is to shelve these items, alcohol or non-halal meats. What's your duty then? Of
course, with alcohol there are 7 to 10 types of individuals who are cursed or la'aned by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
No.
He cursed the ones who brews it, the ones who picks the grapes for the purpose of making it alcohol, the ones who sells it, the ones who buys it, the ones who consumes it, the ones who serves it. So all types of la'an on those individuals. So it's problematic with regards to alcohol.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. I think lots of the brothers and sisters have their jobs in retails and shelving, and I think that clarifies the issue. We're going to come back to more YouTube questions. It says, Sheikhna, it's believing in tahrif make you kafir. If yes, does that mean Allama Majlisi was a kafir? It's a YouTube question.
You see, with regards to the tahrif of the Quran, both the Shia and Sunni have something to say with this regard. Of course, when you read the Sunni books, you would discover even more than that, that there was a whole surah or part of the surah is missing.
Ajib.
For example, one of the hadith that a particular surah, I'm not sure which surah, it was bigger than what we have in Quran.
No.
So yes, some ulama Shia would also have this opinion that the Quran shouldn't be in this way. Anyhow, current ulama that we have, the Maraja', at least in this century, they've agreed upon that the Quran has been revealed on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam as it was now.
No, and it hasn't been changed.
Hasn't been changed. That was what we have reached by our ulama and Maraja', that this is the Quran that we have in our homes, is as it was revealed on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Of course, what would be sometimes the meaning of tahrif, not tahrif, but because the non-Shia changed the meanings of the tafsir and the exegesis of the Quran.
No.
And what we say that no, the tafsir is through Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. So we have to take the tafsir from Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, and not from the non-Shia, because they've changed the tafsir, the meaning of the Quran.
No.
But in overall, this is what the Quran has been revealed on Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Thank you very much.
Without any change.
Thank you very much. Inshallah, that's answered the question. We're going to have another question that says, it's a WhatsApp question. What is the ruling concerning suspicion of and fault finding about others and publicizing them amongst the people in social media and such like?
Well, it's definitely not allowed. It's haram. In Tafsir al-Qummi, we have a hadith by the authority of Amir al-Mu'minin alayhi salam. He stated in a long narration, أيها الناس طوبى لمن شغله عيبه عن عيوب الناس. O people, may the reward be for those who, or the paradise be for those who have made themselves busy by looking into their own faults and mistakes, than looking into the mistakes and faults of the people.
No.
So try to do your own fault finding and find your own faults rather than looking at others' faults.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. I've got a question which is similar to what we said about this. It's about exposing sins and showing other people's mistakes. It says, it's a YouTube question. Is it allowed to make fun of and expose the sins of nawasib?
You see, nawasib are basically different because they are enemies of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. And sometimes you would laugh at their aqeedah sometimes.
No.
You would laugh at, for example, you would put a clip that look at them. Their alim says that Allah has body, and he puts his, let's say, his leg inside the hellfire. So sometimes, you would be laughing on such aqaid. So that's different than mocking a mu'min, a believer who, let's say, beats his chest on Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, who mourns Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, who celebrates their birthday. So these are aqaid batila. You would laugh automatically at their beliefs and aqidah.
Sahih. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. Inshallah, that's answered the question. And as we have said previously, the show is live. We are taking in questions via Facebook, via YouTube, and via WhatsApp. And for those that have a question or want answered live, you can give us a call on +440203 515 01999, getting the opportunity to speak to me or to the Sheikh and getting a direct and live answer for your question. While speaking, Sheikh, now we've got some Facebook questions that says, presenting a gift to Imam Zaman, Ajalallahu Ta'ala Farj Sharif, for connection is suggested. What are some of the examples of gifts that we can give to Sahib al-Zaman?
What recently some believers are trying to do, let's say back in Iraq or Iran, that they would gather an amount of money, let's say 5-10 people, and they would, in the name of the Imam Salamullah alayhi, they would sacrifice a sheep.
No.
Let's say on the day of Eid al-Adha, Eid al-Ghadir, any occasion.
Yes.
And they would send this as a gift, as a protection for the Imam Zaman's life. So they would do this. I think this is a good idea for
one of the easiest ways.
Yes, to basically sacrifice a sheep, for example, or a camel.
No. And in this way,
in the
you're
name of the
also
Imam alayhi salam,
feeding somebody in need.
exactly. That's going to
it's
go
one of the things
to
that
the
Imam
poor.
Sahib al-Asr wa Zaman Ahl al-Bayt taught us is to give and help the ones in need.
Exactly, yeah.
Salam Allahi alayhim ajma'een.
alayhim.
We're going to come back to another question from WhatsApp. It says, what is the ruling with drying one's body part of wudu by a towel or tissue?
It is permissible, but it's makruh. It's discouraged. When one is in the state of wudu and they come out of the wudu, it's better for them to face Allah Azza wa Jal in salah with the wet arms and face. That
So
would be,
it's
of course,
mustahab to
keep
wet hands
keep it,
and
just
face.
leave it wet, yeah.
Naam, inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. I think there are these very simple things that are mentioned that make us have more rewards. Although it's not haram, it's makruh, but for us to do the more required and intended things is better for us in life. We're going to come back to more questions, and we're going to have another question from WhatsApp. It says, what is the ruling regarding keeping statues of living things, of animals or humans at home? Lots of decorations that we have at home, like posters of celebrities or, let's say at times, animals or pets. What's the ruling of that, having them as statues or posters around the house?
For the living creatures, of course, it's makruh and discouraged, especially when it comes to the salat time. And the best way is to cover them and pray in that room, or just choose a room which has no pictures and statues for the salah, of course. But in overall, to be at home, it's a makruh and discouraged, which is not haram, but.
And what about if there are images of like the dharih of imams? That's acceptable?
I just said living creatures like animals or humans.
No. Yeah. Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. We're going to come to another question, and the question says, is clapping permissible on the occasion of birthdays of Ahlul Bayt, peace be upon them, if clapping exceeds its normal limit?
There's no objection to that if it doesn't exceed, as I've said, if it's just normal clapping per se. And of course, nowadays, some of the centers would not allow for the audience or the attendees to clap.
No.
Because of the places, a sacred place. There could be Imam Barga, for example, in that place, a dharih, which, for example, of the Imam alayhi salam. So they try to avoid clapping.
No.
But they can have a separate venue or hall or a large room for the youth and for the kids, so they can clap by themselves. Exactly.
No, and change their mood up.
Exactly. I mean, the kids need that. The youth needs that. We don't want to, leave things too dry for them.
No.
Maybe for the elderly that's fine, but for the kids, for the youth, we have to create for them an environment that attracts them to those Imam Bargas and Islamic centers and mosques.
Yes.
So we try to give them a room or a place where they can clap, they can scream, and enjoy that celebrative evening.
Naam, inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. We're going to come to another YouTube question. It says, is it more thawab to lend someone money or to donate, just give someone money to help them? So what's more rewarding? Is it to donate to them, or actually to lend them and then take it back from them, or is it just to donate to them? What's more rewarding? And it's a YouTube question.
The hadith says that to give sadaqah, you will get 10 rewards. But to lend somebody, to borrow somebody money, that would be 18. So indeed, borrowing money, giving loan would be more rewardable. And the hadith would give the reason for that. That you would give donation, but you never know who deserves that donation. So anyone can get the donation. But usually, those who ask for a loan or borrowing, they are in need of it. Always those who ask to have some, to borrow money, they're in need of it. They won't come to you if they have money. Nobody would come to you. But those who come to you and ask you for money, they are in need of that money. So usually those who borrow money are in need of it. So that's why giving or lending money would have more reward.
Surprisingly, we'd expect the other way around.
Exactly.
But subhanallah.
But the hadith says that you could give donation and the one who gets it, he doesn't deserves that donation. It happens a lot.
Okay, what if I donate to somebody or I give to somebody intending to lend it to them? What is the thawab on that? So if I give to somebody, I don't want to say I want to donate. I give to somebody and I say whenever you have, you give it back. what will that be qualified? Will that be a donation or lending?
As long as you expect the money to come back to you,
Yeah.
that's lending, of course. You get the thawab, inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikh. We've got another YouTube question, and it says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Is it permissible to call upon the Imams directly for rizq? Or is it not to do with Tawheed?
You see, in overall, Allah Azza wa Jal has given the power as known to be wilayat takwiniya to the prophets, to the anbiya, to the imams alayhi salam. But of course, bi'idhnillah, Isa alayhi salam, in a beautiful verses mentions that I do this bi'idhnillah. I would raise the dead bi'idhnillah. I would cure that. It's all bi'idhnillah. So the prophets and the imams alayhi salam would do this all bi'idhnillah. So when you ask something, it's bi'idhnillah. You're actually asking that imam to intercede towards your hawa'ij, your needs, through that imam, bi'idhnillah azza wa jal. Because they are the purest, the purer. That's why I ask them to ask Allah azza wa jal to give me rizq, to give me health, and so forth. So it's not just something that I would ask the imam without Allah's idhn. No, it's with bi'idhnillah azza wa jal, as what happened with Isa alayhi salam. And that's a Quranic verse.
And I believe there's also an ayah that says وَاتَّقُوا إِلَيْهِ الْوَسِيلَةِ.
وَابْتَغُوا
إِلَيْهِ الْوَسِيلَةِ. So what's this Quranic verse?
Seek means towards Him Azza wa Jal.
So that's to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Exactly. So that's why we ask Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam for our hawa'ij, as a means towards Allah Azza wa Jal. Because as I've said, they are the purest, the purer. You would ask somebody who has a status, high status towards Allah Azza wa Jal, as you would ask for somebody who has a connection with, let's say, with a party, with a government, with a, let's say, a side in which they would be able to resolve your problems and issues.
No. Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikh. Now we're going to come down to more YouTube questions. It says, Assalamu alaikum. I have completed my obligatory prayer and remembered I did not do my wudu properly. Is my prayer valid, or should I take wudu again and perform the prayer again?
So was his wudu batil or sahih?
So let's say his wudu wasn't done properly. So let's say it was batil basically.
You see, if the wudu is batil, then the salah is batil as well.
No.
So one should repeat the wudu and do the salah again. For example, if somebody prayed while he was not washed properly with the wajib ghusl, so it means that he needs to repeat his salah.
No.
Because he hadn't had the correct, or he didn't do even the ghusl at all. So if the wudu is batil, the salah is batil as well. That's important.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. We're going to come to another salah question, and it says, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I was praying Jum'ah in a masjid near my house, but I noticed that the Imam doesn't pronounce some of the Quranic words properly. Is my prayer valid or not? It's a YouTube question.
In this case, you can pronounce them yourself in the salah. So if he says, for example, وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ, you say وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ. You try to pronounce it. Otherwise, some ulama would not accept for the one to pray behind an imam who can't pronounce it properly.
No.
So it depends which marja' you follow. But in overall, if such things happen in salah, try to pronounce that word yourself.
No, to keep it valid.
To keep it valid, yeah.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. To all the viewers of the show, we will going on a slight break. The show is still live and we're taking your questions. For those that want to send in their questions via Facebook, via YouTube, via WhatsApp, you can send your questions in. And for those that still don't know how to send their questions in, you can see the break. The break short clip will show you how to send your questions in. We'll see you shortly.
I have a question regarding keeping pictures of scholars.
Is it permissible to plant trees by or
Was
over
Islam
the
established
graves?
based on peace and
Is it
non-violence?
permissible to collect donations for charity projects from
Is it permitted to consume canned food imported from non-Muslim
Is there an
countries?
issue for men looking at non-Muslim women?
To have your questions answered live, call in on +44 2035 150199 or WhatsApp us on +44 7415 092155. Alternatively, you can also email us on Ahkam SOS at imamhussein.tv.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and welcome back. Inshallah, the show that was just shown was beneficial, and it showed how you can send your questions in over to us. For those that are still thinking about sending their questions, you can send your questions in via Facebook, via WhatsApp, or via YouTube, and you can also give us a call on +440203 515 0199, getting the opportunity to speak to the Sheikh and getting a live answer for your question. Sheikh, now we've had many questions coming in and our topics are open. We've got a wide range of topics. We've got another question coming in and it says, is it permissible for a man to undergo a gender change operation to turn into a woman or vice versa?
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the case of those who are bisexual, male or female, in other words, those who have both male and female parts or organs, some kind of illness, that they have this issue, and we have these mentioned in the hadith of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam. They come to the imams, that he or she comes to the imam that they have this issue, and the imams gives them the guidance how to define themselves, females or males, and they give them signs that do this, so you can reach a conclusion that are you a female or a male. They all have the right, of course, to do the operation and to define themselves as females or males. You know, it depends on who they would incline to mostly. But with the case of normal male or female, no, they're not allowed. I can't just change my gender because I don't like my gender, for example. Na'udhu billah. Allah Azza wa Jalla made me in this way, so I have to accept. So no, that's not permissible in this case.
Inshallah, thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. We have another question that says, what is the Shia view of Khalid ibn al-Walid? A YouTube question.
Of course, he's one of those who are rejected in the school of Shia for Ahlul Bayt. Even we have an incident in which he killed innocent Muslims outside the Medina, outskirts of Medina, in which Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, Allahumma inni abra'u ilayk min Khalid, that I denounce Khalid ibn Walid.
I'm innocent from Khalid.
Yeah, denounce him. So he's rejected, of course. One of those who was against Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam, an enemy of Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam.
Alayhim afdal salatu wassalam. Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. We have another question and it says, is it permissible for teachers to pray during working hours, given that the time spent on prayer does not affect the quality of education?
I mean, there's no objection with regards to this scenario, but it's better for the one to communicate with the management of the school that, you know, I have times for salah. If he can or she can pray within their lunchtime, that's fine. But if it's outside lunchtime, in this case, one can ask for 10 minutes break to offer the salah, and that's it. It should be fine.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. We've got another question that says, Salam, Sheikh. If I were to accidentally urinate in my bed, is there any ghusl I should do? So what's that question?
No, the ghusl is for the janaba only. But in overall, that needs just to purify his clothes and his body where this najis has been reached. So just tathir and purifying would be sufficient.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. Sheikh, I've got another question. It says, Assalamu alaikum. What is the ruling of taking loan in a non-Islamic country? YouTube question.
Yes, one can do so if he is or she is compelled to do so, because they have to pay back with interest.
Yes.
If one is compelled, he can do so. So it depends really on your condition and situation.
Inshallah. Thank you very much. And we've got another question that says, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I have invited my friends and colleagues at work on a restaurant. I am to cover the bill, but my colleagues have ordered alcohol and non-halal meats. If I'm to cover the bill, will I be sinned for what they have done?
It's a problem because you're buying for them alcohol. It's an issue. You have to reject and not accept, this purchase, because you're going to pay for them to drink alcohol, and that's not permissible at all. It's forbidden.
So you would recommend to go to a place that serves only halal?
Yes, we have, for example, Arab or Turkish Islamic restaurants. They sell halal food without alcohol, for example.
Inshallah.
You can choose one of those restaurants.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikh. We've got another question, and it says, my son, it says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My son is growing up in another household, and he is attending church with the family that he's growing up in. Is it acceptable for him to attend church, or would I have to pick him up before they attend church?
Of course, if that causes, danger in terms of his aqidah and belief, because that could change eventually his aqidah and belief, one should prevent him from going to the church, definitely. And somehow try to speak to him. Keep an eye on him with regards to his moral conduct.
Yeah.
Because it's not just church. It's something outside the church. You could have, for example, they would offer him or encourage him to have a partner with him, a female partner, for example.
No.
Or to drink or to eat haram food or drink and so forth. So one should be careful with this issue.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikh. We've got another question, and it says, can one donate one's body? Can one donate organs if one declared their brain dead? Or dead, for example, purposes, can one make a will about it, about donating their organs? Is this acceptable?
In terms of donating organs, overall, ulama would allow for the one to donate his organs, like kidneys, for example.
That's acceptable?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much for that, Sheikh. Now we've got another question, and the question says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My son attends a Catholic school, and it is a duty for him to attend church on every Monday. Can I pick him up from school although he will miss out on classes, or shall I leave him to attend?
You see, you have to see how serious it is. Of course, the better not to attend the church. But if you can avoid it, of course, do your best to avoid him to attend the church. But how much influence has the church when he attends that day? Sometimes it's just they give a speech and then they say Amen and they just walk off. But if it's more than that, I don't want to say brainwashing the children with Christian faith, but in overall, one should be careful with their kids' conduct and behavior. Try to watch them in overall, and always to mentor them, educate them, speak to them about the aqaid, the true aqeedah and the correct belief and the tawheedullah azza wa jal. Try to educate them. Take them to Saturday Islamic schools, or they call it madrasa, to teach them the correct aqeedah and belief.
So keep them in school, but as well you have to support them and give them the right supporting and teachings of your faith.
Exactly.
I think that's some decisions that we have to take at times. We live in areas where public schools are not available, or schools for Muslims or open schools are not available, only Christian schools. Inshallah, thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. We've got another YouTube question. It says, in Qunut, do I have to recite the same dua as the Imam and also in ruku' and sujood? Or can I recite a dhikr different from the Imam's dhikr?
And overall, it is mentioned in the Risala Amaliyah about what one can mention. Of course, if the Imam has said the Qunut or the ruku', it's better to recite whatever the Ahlul Bayt used to recite and read. But make sure that you keep the wajib in the ruku' and sujood to be mentioned. So you mentioned the wajib dhikr and the ruku' and sujood.
Inshallah, thank you very much for that, Sheikhna. We've got another question, and it says, I have a friend who asked me why I pray on a rock, I believe it's a turba, while in sujood. What should I say as a reply to anyone, not only a reply for a Shia?
Initially, in the time of the Holy Prophet ﷺ, when he established the mosque in Medina, they used to pray, according to the narrations, on the earth, on the ground, and not on the carpets. Even it's mentioned that some of the Sahaba used to pick pebbles from the ground because it was very hot, and there was no proper ceiling in the Masjid of Medina. They used to cool down the pebbles and then put it back on the ground and pray and prostrate on the pebbles of the Masjid al-Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That was the original way of salah. Where did they get from the new way of praying on carpets or rugs. We haven't seen this in the time of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he prayed on a I don't know, Persian rug, for example, or carpets. So they have to prove it to us. Where is this type of salah or prostration came from? That you only pray on the carpets or the rugs. Well, originally Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to pray on the ground, on the earth, on the pebbles, on the rocks, and not on the carpets. That's against Rasulullah's sunnah sallallahu alaihi wasallam.
Inshallah, thank you very much. We've got another question that says, some school of thoughts pray with their shoes on. What does our Shia belief tell us?
No, what we have, that you can't pray with your shoes on. You have to make sure that you take your shoes off, so your big toes reaches the ground. That's important with regards to the salah. You know, masajid al-sab', the 7 masjid place or the prostration place should be preserved, which is your forehead, your 2 palm hands, and your both knees and both feet. The big toes should reach the ground. Shoes would prevent, that's trainers for example, and such like, would prevent the reach of the toes, big toes on the ground. They have to make sure you put them on the ground. That's why.
Morally speaking as well, salah is you're speaking to God directly. We're always taught, you know, to have a khatam on, or to dress in the best of dressings, comb your hair, clean your beard up, or put a perfume on. To pray while you have your shoes on, I don't think is really acceptable in whatever condition it is. So I think that really answers the question in an Islamic thought as well as a moral thought. We come back to another question. It says, Sheikh, can you give me any tips on improving my Arabic? I'm still struggling reading Islamic books which do not have any harakat.
In overall, you need to learn Arabic with an Arabic teacher. That's the best way to start from scratch if you have an issue with Arabic. And you can start, for example, with the kitab An-Nahw al-Wadih, for example, which teaches Arabic grammar. Very simple, easy to learn and to start from. And that's to do with the grammar. With the listening and speaking, you have to, of course, try to listen and speak gradually, inshallah.
Inshallah. We've got another question. It says, coming to the end of year, many of my friends and peers are invited to school prom. What is the decision, or what should I do?
So, in terms of what, sorry, can you say again?
So he says, coming to the end of year, many of my friends and peers at school have arranged or been invited to a school prom. What should I do? Like, should he attend to the prom or not, where music and dancing will be
of course,
in such an atmosphere?
He can't attend into such venues and programs. Should avoid it, because there's music, there's dance, there's improper, sometimes indecent clothes, for example, from the opposite gender. One should not attend such gatherings in which haram could be committed. So you can just avoid going there. You know, you're not forced to do these things and to attend these programs. You can avoid it, basically.
Naam, inshallah. Thank you very much, Sheikhna. And we're going to have another question that says, Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I am trying to fly out before my end of term at school. Is it permissible for me to lie to them and say to them that I have fallen ill?
Ayatollah Sistani mentions that you have to respect the law and the rules of the, let's say, the government, the school, and so forth, and do not ignore such laws or rules. If they tell you that, you know, you have to be till the end of the term, then try to stay till the end of the term, and you got, mashallah, 6 weeks, 7 weeks of days and weeks, so you can enjoy yourself in those outside the term time.
Okay, inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. Now we have come to a final question, and the question says, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh, I have met somebody that I may see as my future wife via social media. Is it acceptable for me to be speaking to her for long hours, as well as asking her to send me pictures of her in full hijab?
You see, in overall, speaking without any kind of lust or emotions or romance and so forth, just professionally would be, for the start would be fine. But sometimes it reaches, especially as he said that, long conversation, that could lead to some kind of romantic or exchanging emotional words and so forth. So best thing for them, if they want to continue to have a chat and speak to each other for a long time, to have this aqd, as we have the short-term aqd, to make it halal. That's the best way, of course, to start with. And then they can have the long-term aqd or the nikah contract after they've agreed and they've known each other very well
for
after a few months. I think that's the best option to avoid any haram in the middle of their chat and conversations.
Inshallah. Thank you very much for that, Sheikh. You've answered many questions today on different topics. Sheikh, I've tidied you with me today. Before we'd like to wrap up, I would like to thank all the viewers for sending in their questions, and as well as we have said previously, Ahkam books are available of Ayatollah Sayyid Sadiq Shirazi. The poster will be below. If you contact one of our technical teams, the numbers which are shown below, you can order the books and they'll be in touch with you, inshallah. For those that have sent in their questions, we would like to thank you, and we have inshallah answered the questions for you. And I believe there are some questions that we're going to come back to next coming shows, as we didn't have the full information for them. And for those that haven't sent in the questions, please send in your questions and we'll get them answered for you on the next show, which is Wednesday. Inshallah. For now, goodbye and we'll see you soon.
We question our daily position, seeking answers and definitions. Get the queries off your chest with Ahkam SOS.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, my dear brothers and sisters. We are on the top floor, top studio of Imam Hussein TV. As you can see, the staff and workers been working hard. The wall is getting ready of plus the ceiling, and they done some of the lighting, and alhamdulillah they been doing good work, and we hope by your support and your donation we can work it as fast as we can. Inshallah, we will pray for you. And as you can see, we are front of the shrine of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Sallallahu alayka ya Abu Abdullah, sallallahu alayka ya ibn Rasulullah, sallallahu alayka ya ibn Amir al-Mu'minin wa ibn Sayyid al-Wasin. Wassalamu alaykum wa rahmatullah.